Shaken baby syndrome. Shaken baby syndrome, infantile whiplash syndrome. Whiplash shaken baby syndrome refers to a constellation of symptoms and signs resulting from violent shaking of the head of an infant or a small child. Silent etiology. Persistent, inconsolable crying and angers a caretaker and he violently shakes the infant out of frustration or rage. Injury to brain. Mostly it is the brain that suffers the damage. The degree of brain damage depends upon the amount and the duration of the shaking. Difference between a shaken baby syndrome, battered baby syndrome, physical signs. In battered baby syndrome, there are signs of inflicted trauma like a cigarette burn, cuts, bites, finger mark, bruises, ligature mark. These signs are rarely seen in shaken baby syndrome. Intention of the adult. While in battered baby syndrome, the intention of the adult is always to harm the baby. In many cases of shaken baby syndrome, intention is not to harm the baby. He is simply exasperated due to persistent crying of the baby and shakes him as a result. Type of trauma. Shaking is an important etiological factor in a shaken baby syndrome. Exposes infant to rapid acceleration, deceleration forces. Effect is accelerated by relatively larger percentage of head weight compared to the rest of the body. Weak cervical musculature in infants. Other situations in which deceleration forces operate are vehicular accident. Other forms of trauma including child sexual abuse operate in battered baby syndrome. If emotional needs of the child talking and playing with him are not met with, it is also known as emotional neglect or emotional abuse. Battered baby battered baby syndrome, shaken baby syndrome, and emotional abuse together compresses child abuse. Shaken baby syndrome was first described by John Coffey in 1970. He has described the battered baby syndrome. Cinderella syndrome is a false assumption. Adopted children of mixed treatment and neglected by their adoptive mothers. The time goes written by Peter K. Kevin. Cinderella syndrome. Signs and symptoms. Pediatric abusive head injury cause death is approximately 30%. Permanent neurological damage up to 80% of victims. Neurological deficit range from minor irritability, lethargy, tremor, omitting moderate motor, intellectual, visual deficit including blindness to major seizure, coma, stupor, death. Due to brain cell damage occurs secondary to trauma, lack of oxygen to the brain cells, swelling of the brain. Permanent brain damage is caused by habitual and prolonged shaking. Extensive retinal hemorrhage incidents occur in one or both eyes in approximately 80% of cases. Location: pre-retinal, intraretinal, subretinal. Too numerous to count. Involve entire retinal surface extending to the orosorata. Mechanism: violent shaking causes sudden increase in intraocular and retinal venous pressure. Traction induced injuries of the retinal vessel. The classical triad seen is subdural hematoma, brain swelling and retinal hemorrhage. Subdural hematoma, brain swelling ഉണ്ടാവും, retinal hemorrhage ഉണ്ടാവും. Hematoma, brain swelling and retinal hemorrhage. Triad is often accompanied by bruising of the part of the body used as a handle for shaking. Fracture of the long bone or of the ribs seen up to 55% of the victim. More than half of the fractures are multiple. Post-traumatic aneurysm, example of pericallosal arteries which can rupture and cause intracerebral hemorrhage. Other forms of physical abuse: asphyxiation, suffocation, smothering. Findings include abrasion on face, particularly around the nose and mouth, laceration of lips, oral mucosa, frontal petechiae of face, angina and scleral hemorrhage, burns, scald and electrical injuries. Burns. Incidents approximately 10% of physical abuse in children involve burns. Lesions: small circular pitted burns produced by jabbing burning cigarette end on the body. Punched out, a crater-like lesion on the size of a cigarette end. Pink or red when fresh, separate later. If healing occurs without infection, they tend to be silvery in the center with a narrow red rim. Child is made to sit or lie on a hot stove or electrical radiator. Burn on buttocks and back. Stove and radiator grate burns are linear or checkerboard shaped. Burns from an iron rod are triangular scald. Unwanted child may be placed into a basin or tub filled with scalding hot water. A characteristic pattern of wound water level is seen. Electrocution marks may be seen. Cigarette burns on child abuse. Child abuse by scalding. Miscellaneous drowning, intentional poison, chemical abuse, deliberate administration of toxic or injurious substance to a child. When the child is offered medical attention, the act of poisoning is usually denied, omitted and distorted by the child's guardian. Agent having plasmid, amitriptyline, barbiturate, chloral, hydrochlorpromazine, dihydrocodone, furosemide, imipramine, methadone, pepper, metformin, phenolphthalein, phenothiazine, oil, salicylate, tab salt, vitamin A excess, warfarin water excess. Thank you.